Hello, everyone. It's Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Political Law Enforcement Training. I want to talk to you about a video that I just got done watching. This is actually going to go straight to YouTube before my team has had time to edit it. I think that this is a good conversation about trespassing. If you've been following my training, you know that I think that a lot of officers misunderstand trespassing in the sense that a lot of officers believe that they have the authority to detain somebody when they really don't. When they want to detain somebody just to warn them that they are not welcome back. So let's, I talk about this. I show some other videos about this, but now we actually have a live controversy. We apparently have a person who's upset that some officers in Georgia detained this person, and we're gonna kind of watch it, kind of go through it a little bit and see if the officers may have violated this person's constitutional rights. And we're here to not criticize, we're here to critique and to learn so that we get it right every single time. All right? All right, let's start the video.
I'm just stopping for just stopping. Is that okay?
Yeah, there's people that are concerned because you've been out here for a couple hours. They want to make sure you're okay.
Okay.
You got some ID on you?
Yeah, I do, but I can move if you want.
You don't. I'm not saying you have to.
I'm just resting.
I know. I'm not accusing you of anything. They want us to check on you. I just want to know who I'm talking to. That's all.
I'm just passing through, sir.
Okay. I need your ID.
Did I commit a crime?
You're loitering.
If I'm trespassing.
Yes, you are, because you've been here for hours. Okay. I need your ID, sir.
Are you gonna arrest me?
Do I need? Do I need to?
I don't know. I didn't.
Okay. You need to identify yourself. Please provide me your identification.
Officer, if I committed a crime,
yes, it's called trespassing and loitering. That's a crime.
I don't believe I've been trespassing.
Okay, it doesn't matter what you believe. You need to provide your ID.
All I was doing, officer, was reading a book.
I need your ID.
I mean, you're gonna arrest me because
if you don't provide your ID, I will.
Just for parking my car?
For trespassing and loitering. You've been here for hours. That's not normal behavior. It's not normal behavior. I need your ID.
I don't know what you mean by normal behavior. Is that really?
People don't park in gas stations for hours. They come get gas and they leave. They come to the store, grab something and leave. You've been here for hours. I need your ID.
I've actually been doing this for...
Give me your ID or you're going to be detained.
You're going to arrest me?
Potentially, yes. I'm trying to provide you an opportunity. No, I already explained to you why we're here. Provide your ID.
Sir, I didn't do anything wrong.
Provide your ID.
I'm not required to provide.
Yes, you are when we're investigating a complaint.
No, you're not, sir. Can I talk to you, Sergeant?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm going to get out of the car, okay? Please don't. I'm just getting out of the car.
Okay, I still need your ID. You're going to provide an ID. I'm going to no, keep your door open.
Okay.
I'm going to know who I'm talking to.
I just want to let you know I'm not a threat to you guys. I have no weapons.
Okay, great.
I'm just reading a book in my car.
Sir, we could have been dealt with this.
If you want to talk to your sergeant, I'm perfectly happy to wait. I'm not a threat to you guys.
I didn't say you were a threat.
I'm not resisting arrest.
The issue is not that we believe you're a threat. The issue is that we received a complaint that you've been out here for a long time.
I just parked my car to read a book. That's all.
I understand that,
there was a thunderstorm.
I'm aware
You know
of
it's
that.
unsafe to drive during a thunderstorm.
Because of the nature of the complaint, and we're out here, you need to provide us with identification so we know who we're talking to.
You're being very reasonable right now. I'm trying to be reasonable as well.
You're not.
I asked
You're
you.
not.
I asked
Is
you.
there a reason? Do you have warrants or something? Do you have arrest warrants out of somewhere else? of another state, of another jurisdiction? I mean, I see you got.
I'm
Is
waiting.
this your vehicle?
I'm waiting for your sergeant.
That's fine. And
Okay.
And when he tells you the same thing, then what are you gonna do?
I will comply once your sergeant comes here
Okay.
and tells me.
If all you need is for him to ask for the ID, then what? Then
I
good.
just want to know.
I've already
what
explained
the
to
law
you.
is here.
I've already told
Apparently,
you.
you guys a little.
Did you run the plate?
confused. Huh?
Did you run the plate?
But we're not confused.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just kind of see where we're at here, right? We clearly have a call for service. Somebody in that store said that this guy's been in front of the store for up to 2 hours, and so we have our investigation. Now, let's just kind of go through and let's look at Georgia law at this point and see if this fits within the definition of trespassing. So let's kind of go. All right. So according to 16-7-21, this is criminal trespass. And if there's another law that's applicable here, you will tell me. So in a nutshell, it says a person commits the offense of criminal trespass when he or she intentionally damages any property of another without consent or of that other person, and the damage thereto is $500 or less, or knowingly and maliciously interferes with the possession or use of the property of another without consent of that person. Now, I think we can agree that Section A is not going to apply here. Let's move on. The next section is B, and it says a person commits the offense of criminal trespass when he or she knowingly and without authority, 1, enters upon the land or premises of another person, or into any part of any vehicle, railroad car, aircraft, or watercraft of another person for an unlawful purpose. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think about that one? Do you think that going to a parking lot of a convenience store and resting while you're, if they're resting for whatever purpose, right? Whether it's for, a thunderstorm or because you're too tired, do you think that that's an unlawful purpose? I don't. I think that's something that happens every day across America by lawful people. I think that, a lot of off-duty cops traveling across the country with their family would probably feel that a gas station is a transient place for people to kind of rest, buy something, gasoline, snacks, energy drinks, and so forth. So you can have your opinion, I can have mine, but I do not think it's reasonable to presume that somebody resting in a parking lot of a convenience store, they would have believed that they are entering for an unlawful purpose, right? I don't think that's reasonable. I think that's very, very common. And that's my viewpoint. So the next one is, okay, so it's not that. What about this one? Enters upon the land or premises of another or into any vehicle, railroad car, aircraft, or watercraft of another person after receiving, prior to such entry, notice from the owner, rightful occupant, or upon proper identification, an authorized representative of the owner that such entry is forbidden. Okay, so that clearly is not going to be the deal here. Cho, which is our occupant in the vehicle, Cho, there's no reason to believe that he was not welcome there, right? It did not say, hey, no people welcome that drive Toyotas, right? Nothing ridiculous like that. So he's not necessarily there for an unlawful purpose. Now you might say, Anthony, what if there's some no loitering signs? Well, okay, now you're probably, you probably have an argument that he should have known that he should not have been loitering there. But so I don't know. Based on the video that I've seen, I'm not sure there's actually there's any no loitering signs there. But you would have to have some signs there or some kind of indication to a reasonable person that what their conduct is prohibited. Okay, so I don't think that applies. I don't think so. And if it did, they didn't say anything about a no loitering sign. Okay, let's go to the next one. Or remains upon the land or premises of another or within the vehicle, railroad car, etc., after receiving notice from the owner, rightful occupant, or upon proper identification of an authorized representative of the owner or rightful occupant to depart. Okay, So here's the deal, though, right? The question is, you have to be given an opportunity to actually leave, right? So under that section, you have to be given notice to leave. So the other ones are, per se offenses, right? You knew you shouldn't have been there. You're there for some kind of criminal intent. Okay, that's easy, right? What makes it more complicated is that when a person enters an open to the public area, right? Parking lots of Walmart and the convenience stores and the Walgreens and so forth, when they enter those areas and they're open to the public, right? They're not after hours, before hours, they're not really in the back of the Walmart where employees only should go or deliveries. They're in the front. When they're in those areas, well, they don't have that notice, right? And so we're gonna create that trespass by giving them notice to leave. Well, they have to be given the opportunity to leave. Clearly, if I walk into Walmart and for some reason I piss off the manager, and I wasn't. There's no sign that says my conduct. I'm singing, right? I'm singing in the rain, okay? And the manager's like, look, people are complaining about your singing, and I don't blame them one bit. And they say, you know what, you got to leave. And I say, sir, I will leave. And I start walking out. Have I committed any crime in the great state of Georgia? And the answer is absolutely not, right? I have not committed any crime. I'm allowed to leave, right? Unless you have, these other ones, right? So that's the problem here, okay? That's the problem that I have here, is that we seem to have a situation where the officer is almost like, hey, I got to identify you in order to kind of warn you about the trespass. Well, that is a conundrum, right? It's a conundrum in trespass law, because in order to detain somebody in Georgia, to demand that ID and so forth, you have to have at least reasonable suspicion of criminal conduct. But if the person is willing and able to do exactly what the law wants you to do, which is leave, then they have no obligation to stay and be identified. Now, a great case on this is Henning versus Walmart stores. Now, this case is out of the 11th Circuit, right? Which is binding over Georgia, but this is based on federal law. But I do believe that the not federal law, Florida law. It's based on Florida law, but I do believe that this situation is closely analogous to the situation that just happened in Georgia. And again, facts matter. All I have, my friends, I think this is important to say, right? I just actually taught at the Chiefs conference in Georgia, last week. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers, but I am here to teach officers what I think the law is, so that they get it right every single time. And I'm looking for teaching moments. And a lot of officers learn based on the actions of others, right? So, but based on what I see here, and I'm sure I'll probably get that phone call soon after I post this, that from an officer in Georgia, or maybe this agency said, Anthony, look, we met at the Chiefs conference, and I'm the chief. What you're missing is something about, there was a loitering sign, or the clerk did tell him to leave and he didn't leave. Something like that would help. But if all we have is a guy sleeping in his car, and that's all we have, I think that we have a problem. So this is a case, as I said, Brian Henning. He is in a Walmart, and he's in the I think he's actually in the McDonald's inside the Walmart. That's what I believe he was. And he was taking pictures of people, and he says he wasn't taking pictures, but regardless, they want him to leave. Now, he then sues because he says, you know what, you unlawfully detained me, right? You tried to detain me for a trespass order. Well, the court did actually said that that's actually not what happened. What happened is Brian refused to leave first. They went up to him. They said, "Hey, the manager does not want you here." And he's like, "I'm not leaving," type of stuff. I wasn't doing that, and you got to get gone. I mean, I'll definitely agree on that. If you are on the receiving end of a verbal order from a police officer telling you, "Hey, these people want you gone. This business wants you gone," you got to comply with that. You got to start getting gone, because if you're not getting gone, then you are violating the trespass law. But what I like about this case is that the court is, the key here is that if you're going to use this case, think about what the court said here. The first thing is that despite the officer's instructions to leave, Henning attempted to remain in the store. Okay, that's the first thing, okay? But also look down here when you talk about this, the law here. It says, this is very, very important for our discussion. It said the issuance of a trespass warning as contemplated by this statute, which is Florida, is a consensual encounter, meaning that a law enforcement officer may only issue a verbal warning. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, so what this means is if the person has not committed trespass yet, with those delineated ways that you commit trespass, in Florida or Georgia, if they have not committed trespass yet, then you can pretty much only tell them, hey, you got to leave. And if they leave, then that's it. You cannot detain them. It's a form of consensual encounter, but a lot of officers do want to identify these people to keep a record. Okay, let's move on to that. The court went on to say, now, or if the individual voluntarily decides to remain in order to receive a written warning, then the officer may also issue a written warning. They talk about Moore versus State. So this is very, very important. You know what? People do it all the time. They're like, hey, the store wants you gone. Can I see your ID? And usually, most of the time, the person will give you their ID. That the court is looking at that as a consensual encounter because, hey, can I see your ID? They want it for their records. I kind of want to know who I'm out with. So far, so good. I know we can debate on when it becomes a detention, but so far, so good as far as the law goes. Now, so until the potential trespasser has received a warning, the law enforcement officer lacks the legal authority to conduct an investigatory stop or arrest for trespass. This is very important. If the potential trespasser receives a warning and remains on the property, however, then he becomes an actual trespasser under the plain language of the statute. Okay? Once a law enforcement officer has probable cause to believe that a trespass has occurred, she may detain the trespasser. Okay. So this is exactly the issue at hand. Okay. The question in this case is, did Cho commit a trespass? Right? Did he actually violate the law? Or potentially, look, I don't see it, but I don't see it. I don't see the signs that say you can't do what he just did. A reasonable person would know that you can't rest in your car. 2 hours, people might say, Anthony, that's pretty ridiculous. 15 minutes, good. We can have a debate about that. Maybe this case gets qualified immunity if it's a, if it's a lawsuit's filed. Maybe qualified immunity is appropriate in this case. But just answer the question, okay? Would a person know that they're trespassing? Okay. Then the second question is, if they've been warned to leave and they don't leave, then of course they're committing trespass. But they're like, yeah, I'm willing to leave. And I think that Cho is coming off as he's a person that's willing to comply. But Anthony, he didn't leave. Well, of course he didn't leave because the cop is telling him you're going to be under arrest if you don't show an ID. So he knows he's not going to just get into his Toyota and just take off. So he's detained at this point. And that's really what we have here. So I think that, for those officers who are looking at this, I guess this video is going a little viral. I'm going to add my 2 cents in it because I think it's, an opportunity to learn and grow. We're all professionals here. Again, we don't know for sure. I don't know the backstory. If you're the officer involved in this case, reach out to me at bluetogold.com and, let's have a phone call. Maybe, you can kind of give me some insight on here. And if I'm totally wrong about this, I'm gonna make another video saying such, right? But I want to add my 2 cents. I want to do more and more videos because I think that cops, again, learn the most from them. Okay? Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this video has helped you get it right every single time. If you like what we're doing around here, like, subscribe, share with your friends. And until next time, my friends, you stay safe.